Halftime.
It's halftime. This is San Antonio's Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250, 94.5 FM. We're local, loud and live here in San Antonio, Texas. Rob Thompson sitting across from me. Edwin, back behind the board. Happy to see Edwin again. James Pledger watching closely.
¿Qué pasó? Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right, yeah. Well, happy to get to know Edwin as he learns the board and gets to know the board as well.
He's a rock star, man.
We got a fun show lined up today, Rob. A little Friday edition of halftime.
I'm going to do my best to keep it on the rails, Carl. I'm
Hey,
gonna do my best to follow the lead, keep it on the rails, and talk sports, but I'm feeling very, very Friday.
we do have UFO talk. I know you like some UFO talk. Y'all going to have to keep it tuned in for that one. That's a little later in the
I'll
show.
get my aluminum foil, wrap it around my skull.
You might need it.
They talk to me that way, you know.
If that's how I thought it was supposed
Beam
to keep
things
you
down.
from
them
reading
that's-
your mind.
They do, and that's why I put the foil on, because they interfere with my thoughts. That's a whole other issue.
That's fair. We get to hear from the best shooter on the Spurs. That'll be a fun segment. Stay tuned for that. But I kind of want to start off with a disappointment last night. Eagles Patriots.
Philly fan.
Ugh, yikes. You know, I'm a diehard. They're going to have to do some really terrible things for me to not be an Eagles fan. But there are times where I might just check out midseason and give up on them. They've thrown in the towel week 2 of preseason. Didn't even play Jalen Hurts. He had an upset tummy.
Yeah, he had to go to the hospital, didn't he?
He went to the hospital, checked him for COVID. He was negative.
Oh, so it was just a COVID kind of thing. They were concerned, because I had been told that there are some intestinal issues when people are testing positive and dealing with it. You know, Eagle fan, as much as I want to make fun, this is I don't know what I saw. I'm like Rudy on this. I don't know what I saw in that Philly defense. I don't know how many of the 2s and 3s were running against the 1s and 2s or whatever it was. I know this. They didn't slow Philly down, but I don't know how much they were trying to slow them down, you know? So I'm not going to, I know losing 35-0 at any place, at any time, whether it's, you know, in your driveway, preseason game, or on a video game, that hurts. That alone hurts. Unless they can justify the fact that they got what they wanted out of it on the individual matchups. I hope they did, for Philly fans' sake, because that was bad.
Every Philadelphia fan is mad right now at Joe Flacco for ruining Devontae Smith's initial game as an Eagle. His first game as an Eagle, and Flacco just couldn't do anything for him. And he still has a lot to learn. The Heisman Trophy winner that the Eagles took, I believe it was 10th, 12th overall, around that range.
Bama boy. The Bama kid?
Yep, that's right. And they all want to see him. Obviously, everybody wants to see their first-round pick go out and play well in his first preseason game, no matter who's under center or behind center these days. It was rough. But the story of the night probably is Cam maybe separated himself just a little bit from Mac Jones. Just a little.
I did not see Mac Jones play. I tuned in the first quarter, and I saw Cam march down the field. I mean, it was bing, bang, 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 touchdown. I mean, there was no delay. There was no slowing them down. I thought at that moment he'd earned it. Evidently, I turned away and missed a pretty good Mac Jones performance. But I think if Cam can do that, why would you not start him?
Going off of the stats here, Newton finished 8 of 9 for 103 yards and a touchdown. Mac Jones comes in, completes 13 of 19 passes for 146 yards, doesn't have an INT or a TD. But we've had this conversation on San Antonio Sports Star a little bit, mostly on R&R in the morning with you and Rudy J. If you start Mac Jones and he goes 1-3, aren't you scared that, or at least Bill Belichick, not you, you're not coaching the Patriots, but Bill Belichick, if somebody's going to start 1-3, make it Cam. I think Cam is the one that needs to start 1-3 if somebody's going to start 1-3. Mac Jones, if he starts 1-3, you might lose him by week 5 of the season.
You mean lose him like mentally? He's in a bad situation, and like typical rookies, 1 interception breeds 3 more kind of stuff. I buy that. I absolutely believe in that. And I think just like I think New England is in it to be competitive this year. I mean, they're not retooling by any stretch. And I think the expectation is that Mac Jones, at least so far, is looking more and more like the quarterback of 22, 23, 24. So why risk it, especially if you've got a Cam Newton that's playing this well in your offense? I do believe that Mac Jones will start this year, but I just don't think it'll be anytime soon.
At some point.
Right.
It's a 100% injury rate league, and Cam has a lot of miles on that body. He has $9 million depending on playing 60 snaps for the Patriots 60% of the snaps for the Patriots this year. So he's going to do whatever he can to have that starting job. He's running with the ones right now. Belichick still hasn't announced it. And it looks like we have some breaking news. We'll let Pledger go ahead and break that for us.
We got a 3-note sting.
This is breaking news from San Antonio Sports Talk.
Yeah, a little bit of breaking news in Texas A&M basketball as they have been placed on probation, and head coach Buzz Williams has been suspended for 2 games as a part of the NCAA's ruling on these infractions.
What are the infractions? So you got the infractions?
I'll have to go further in the
Okay,
story.
cool.
I'm digging into it right now. They just pulled in a great transfer yesterday for Virginia Tech, second team ACC all-conference kid that had Aggies high-fiving in the halls.
Maybe that's it.
The day after they got here, that sounds like a sting operation. But there have been so many transfers coming in that always is concerning to a program. Go ahead, James.
Williams had impermissible contact with a prospect during an evaluation period, and the school is also responsible for an unnamed assistant coach holding 24 supervised off-campus workouts with both a prospect and a current student athlete, which were prohibited because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Texas A&M is being fined $5,000 for the violation and will be placed on 2 years probation. Level 2 violations will also result in some recruiting restrictions for the 2021-2022 season.
They're going to lose 5 paid visits for recruits this season, 21-22 season. So they won't get any on-campus, or at least it looks like it's been cut by about 15-20% the number of on-campus visits they can bring in. 5,000 is a slap. But let me tell you, when the NCAA finds something, they keep picking that scab. This investigation, while this segment is done, they're going to continue looking around because the belief commonly is, we caught you for that. What else have you been doing?
24 workouts. They had a number. They were aware. And in COVID, I get, because everybody wants to fight these COVID rules. We just have to all live by them. And there needs to be some kind of NCAA president. I think there is. I know when everything was going around, they were going to let the conferences leave up to, but the crazy thing is there's a lot of coaches that just want to go back to the way things used to be. And that's big for Texas A&M, because I'll say this, as someone who loves College Station, I think that that's a true college town. You need to experience the energy of pulling in and seeing Kyle Field on the horizon. That's something that is a selling point when you can actually walk around that town.
This investigation goes back to June of last year. An internal investigation informed the NCAA enforcement assistant that they had already done it. They actually turned themselves in.
You have to. If you don't, then the NCAA will give you a worse punishment.
The impermissible conducted and supervised off-campus workouts with men's basketball prospect student athletes and several of the men's basketball student athletes, even though the activities were prohibited due to COVID-19. It wasn't outside the purview of the rules except for COVID. That's why the fine was so small. And 2-game suspension, that hurts, but it'll be non-conference games.
Not a big deal, but it is breaking news, and we are your station for Texas A&M football.
As far as I'm concerned, we are. The other concern here, and it's not as much as it used to be, but, that one infraction levels up to the next infraction, that levels up to the next, that levels up to really serious things. So you don't ever want to get the first. I get the feeling that this was a perfunctory, this is what we do when you do that, slap on the wrist. We know COVID's over. But we were talking about the A&M program, basketball program, over the last couple of days with the Aggie underground around here. And I think Buzz Williams has done a phenomenal job trying to, build a basketball program under the umbrella of a football school. And the transfer portal has certainly aided in their ability, any coach's ability, to get good fast. But when you deal with a bunch of transfers, it always tells me that your recruiting has problems. If you're having to bring in transfer after transfer after transfer, and again, this year is a little different, but it tells me that while buzz has been greatly received, if he's having to bring transfers in, he's not getting the recruits he wants, you know? And I know he's trying to build fast, and I know he's a hell of a coach, but when you see this, it's of concern. We'll just little red flag. Because Aggies have a history of finding that line, stretching it until it finally snaps, and then here comes the trouble.
Well, the funny thing is, with any NCAA school, you are supposed to have a compliance team that's constantly investigating these things on their own so that you can report them to the NCAA. There's too many NCAA institutions for the NCAA to actually blanket cover everything. And that's how you avoid something like the death penalty that SMU got, something so serious that we probably won't see it again.
Never again. That was so detrimental that the school is still suffering from it today. That will never happen again. And if it was, it would further the dismemberment of what the NCAA is today and what it will be in just a couple of years. It would speed that up along. We can't have that ever happen again. Tough news for A&M, but it wasn't like they were going to be fighting for any kind of title anyway.
The last time the Aggies did an investigation that I'm aware of was Johnny Football and Autograph Gate, where they probably sat Johnny down and was like, Johnny, did you sign any autographs? While shaking their head no. And he said no. And then they go back to and say, we didn't find anything. No. They slap a half a game suspension on him. You can't play the first half of Rice. Spirit of the rule broken. That's what they claimed.
And now you can just go do it.
Absolutely. Thank goodness. Thank goodness it's Friday.
Oh my gosh.
We're pretty much done with the week. Got another hour, 45 minutes of halftime for y'all here. And as we like to do, I have the headlines straightened up for you. Edwin, hit that sound. It's Carl's Countdown, and we have a Spurs headline to start off. Headline 2, Jock Landale signed a 2-year contract for the minimum with the San Antonio Spurs. This year is fully guaranteed. The next year is fully non-guaranteed, according to Keith Smart of Yahoo. Can we finally, now that he is officially on the roster, Rob, retire the nickname Strap?
No. It gets in bigger lights. He's now officially the Strap. You're a Spur, baby. Welcome to the party.
And we'll see how he feels about that.
Strap. Did he put that on his nickname, on the back of his jersey? Strap.
I looked up on Basketball Reference to see if he had another nickname because Basketball Reference keeps track of that. Couldn't find any.
And as soon as I meet him, I won't say it. But it seems just too easy.
He's a really solid player, though. Has always had some good shooting from behind the arc. I think that's a sneaky pickup. He's only 25 years old, and he's Australian Ben Simmons' best friend. And that's the only Ben Simmons rumor of the day hint that you guys will get. We don't have a Ben Simmons rumor of the day.
The day ends in Y, Carl. We have to have something.
Somebody's interested in trading for Ben Simmons. That's all I know.
All right. It might be the Wolves. We'll leave it at that.
All right. Now we have 2 hockey headlines. I'll start off with one of them. Hendrik Lundqvist announces his retirement, ending a 15-year NHL career, one of the best goalies of all time, and one of the few NHL names that I actually know. So it's down to probably 4 or 5 hockey players I can name.
Somebody's sad. Tracy Minix might be. I know the name too. Hendrik Lundqvist. Congratulations. I couldn't tell you anything more than that.
Now, here is a somewhat possibly San Antonio-related hockey headline on Headline 0. Glendale is terminating the Coyotes arena lease after 2021-2022. Is San Antonio a potential landing spot for the NHL franchise?
No? Don't start that, man.
Every Rampage fan jumped on this. Anybody who remembers the San Antonio Rampage said, we want that team back here now. Get us an NHL franchise.
We got the building. We just don't got the fans. It's the opposite of football. We got plenty of fans. We just don't got the building, though we keep trying to pass off the Alamo Dome as NFL ready. It's not.
No.
But we do have an NHL ready stadium. Too bad. This is leverage. You think they're leaving that area, that metro area? This is all a game. They're going to get a brand new pretty stadium.
I read an unbiased article, so it's not San Antonio wasn't mentioned. Possible relocations. Phoenix was among the top choices. Quebec City, so I guess north of the border, if they accept teams again, and Houston, oddly enough.
Now I could see Houston. The Arrows were big time for a while. I could see that. San Antonio sport fan, hockey fan. Sorry, it's just not enough.
I'd love to see them try.
Hey, anything that would raise our level of notoriety, that would raise the city of San Antonio to the point where instead of Buffalo looking to Austin for the Bills to move, using them for some leverage, they should need to be looking a little bit further south to where the true population lies. It would be a benefit, but it ain't happening. It ain't happening. But I guess if Tampa can hold on to a baseball team that nobody cares about, maybe San Antonio can get a hockey team that no one will care about.
Is there going to be another major sports league that comes to San Antonio within the next 5 years?
No.
I
will stand by this, that I still believe that Monterey or Mexico City are more likely to get an NFL team before San Antonio. The one thing that I could see coming to our city is some sort of amalgam of the Mexican Professional Soccer League and the MLS. I think that we would be a prime candidate for that, but MLS ain't coming. The Spurs, I believe, have pulled out of all negotiations with those. I don't know what to call MLS, but I think they're just like the international soccer community. They're all crooks. Because the deal that was made with San Antonio and what happened with Austin, we were promised one thing and they found a loophole to get Columbus to Austin. Oh, it's not a new franchise. You guys are supposed to get a new franchise.
And then Columbus went all up in arms in it. So now Austin did get a new franchise. Right. It was crazy.
That underhanded dealing, SS&E, I'm sure they've washed their hands of the MLS. I don't see anything new outside of the general search for a baseball or a football team continuing. Too bad.
Maybe one day. All right. Those are your headlines. Thank you, Edwin.
Friday afternoon, man.
I'm excited. Do you have plans this weekend?
No, not much. I thought I'd go pick up a mount that I had completed up in Ingram, and then I found out that I-10 is going to be shut down both ways, just north of 1604, south of Bernie, right there at Scenic Loop Road. No, I'm not going to venture that direction at all. So, no, I got nothing in front of me. Nothing that of any significance, except some pool time, maybe.
I'm going to the Majestic for the first time. 1964, the tribute band for the Beatles is playing.
This is an interesting thing because you've never been to the Majestic.
No, I've heard it's awesome. My girlfriend has. She's going with me.
It looks like the show, first of all, looks fun. You a Beatles fan?
I enjoy their music. Yesterday's one of my favorite movies. If you've seen Yesterday.
Movies? No,
It's a movie, and I'll just say the premise is only one person remembers the Beatles, so he plays.
Oh, I've seen it. Yeah, that's a recent one. Yeah,
it's recent.
That was actually a very good movie. I thoroughly enjoyed that movie. Your father's a musician. Your father loves. What kind of music did you grow up listening to?
He was a big Springsteen fan. He knew Springsteen from the ground floor.
Jersey days, South Philly, Northern Pennsylvania, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, he likes to claim he's a folk singer-songwriter. There was a rock and roll artist named Ken Queter in Philadelphia that he almost became the manager of because he was convinced that Ken Queter was going to be the next big rock star. I think my dad was more of a Rolling Stones than a Beatles fan.
And you had to be one or the other. What other kind of music was in your house? Did you play country music or anything like that? Or is it just his flavor?
No country. And I can't really say that too many. I think John Gorka was one of them.
I don't know who that is.
No, I think he's a Texas singer-songwriter. Jimmy LaFave, another Texas singer-songwriter. My dad, for years, was just entrenched in the live Austin music scene when he was with the University of Texas. And because there were other music stations out there, he just met all of them. He met Willie a couple times.
Well, I've got one of your dad's CDs.
Life in the Minors.
Life in the Minors. It's a $1 million seller. Yeah. So he told me.
That's a Jimmy LaFave line. He has $1 million in his cellar.
That's what we were told. Yeah. Well, I'm always curious as to the music influences. So what's number one on your Spotify or your playlist right now?
Those Theta Waves. Oh, I don't listen to music.
So no music, still the Theta Wave stuff.
I like Drake a lot. I do enjoy Drake. I think he is more or less the voice of my generation, depending on who you ask.
It's hard to argue.
Yeah, he just has good music, good rhythm. I actually used to rap along with Drake to warm up my mouth and tongue before play-by-play games.
The awkward assassin.
Yeah, it's easier to just go ahead and find a rhythm. It's a good way to pick up some speed on your tongue if you learn to rap along with songs.
A lot of jokes there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of jokes there. Keep moving. Keep moving.
All right.
Edwin, we got to keep moving down the road.
we do got to keep on moving. We got interrupted real quick, but just to kind of wrap up, going all the way back to our original conversation with the Patriots and the Eagles, my expectations for Philly are low this year. They are probably going to finish NFC East worst. And I am almost certain when they signed Joe Flacco, that was their way of saying, if Jalen Hurts isn't any good or if he gets injured, we're fine being the worst team in the league because Flacco needs an offensive line to protect him, and they do not have an offensive line.
No, they don't. And the word has it that one of their number one pick 2 years ago out of Washington State, they're shopping him, so that doesn't look good there. Do you believe that Flacco will be the backup quarterback, or is the backup quarterback not even on their roster yet?
Well, Nick Mullins is the other option. I'm going to tell you right now, they do not care about their quarterback play.
So down goes Hurts, something goes on. It's a tank job. I'm with you. They are rebuilding. But as a Cowboy fan, I'm always wary of the Eagles. Playing possum.
Something's going on in that organization behind closed doors that is just screaming toxic from the outside looking in. And I don't want to get into it more than why fire Doug Peterson unless there's some kind of ego battle going on. Howie Roseman's been there forever, and he's been a terrible drafter, but he did put together a team that won a Super Bowl. A lot of that is Nick Foles' luck. It's lightning in a bottle that could never be captured again. I get that. No way you're going to have your backup outduel Tom Brady and go on a winning streak when your starter goes down with torn ACL. But it's not too bad being a Philadelphia fan, whether it's a Phillies or Eagles or 76ers, because you learn to lose to make those winning times that much better.
Oh, is that what it is? You learn to lose so you can chunk batteries at Santa.
No, we didn't throw batteries at Santa. We just booed him and threw snowballs at him.
You didn't throw batteries at Santa? The legend is not.
There was a first round draft pick. I can't remember his name. JD Drew, maybe. That sounds right. That was a first round draft pick by Philadelphia. Wanted nothing to do with Philadelphia. So he forced his way out of signing any kind of contract with them. Got to the majors within 2 or 3 years. Next thing you know, when he goes out to right field, the Phillies fans show off their arm and some batteries that they brought in, and they have to start searching for batteries now whenever anybody enters Philadelphia's baseball park, Citizens Bank.
Got a couple of football games tonight. Bengals will take on Washington, the football team, Chiefs and Cardinals as well. So NFL will proceed all weekend long. Last chance to see all the starters. I think this is it. If there are any starters that are going to play, it's going to be this week.
That's true. And coming up, the biggest game in Texas, the Governor's Cup. We're going to give you reasons to watch it. This is halftime. Thank y'all for spending your break with us. And this is San Antonio Sports Star, AM 1250, 94.5 FM.
Not everybody can make it to every game, but every game can make it to everybody.
Culberson swings and belts one. Straight away left. Way back. That ball is history. It took one pitch for the Rangers to tie the game.
Here's a ball that's lined into left field. Diving for it is Davis, and he makes the catch.
Rangers baseball. It's a whole new ball game. Hear it all right here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN, AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
The granddaddy of all hunting shows returns to San Antonio. The 2021 Hunters Extravaganza, August 20th through the 22nd at the Freeman Coliseum Expo Hall. Bring the kids and see Gator Country's huge alligators and last season's bucks in our annual deer contest. Check out the latest in hunting gadgets and gear and enter our locked and loaded mega giveaway to win big. August 20th through the 22nd at the Freeman Coliseum Expo Hall. For details and tickets, go to huntersextravaganza.com. A Texas Trophy Hunters production.
It's the Home and Auto Bundle Extrava-Festa Save-a-thon, the annual year-long event where you can save big by bundling Home and Auto with Progressive. So big that we're kicking things off with fireworks, a monster truck battle, a fighter jet flyover, and it wouldn't be a party without the Home and Auto Bundle Extrava-Festa Save-a-thon dancers. You can't really hear them, but trust us, they are working it. So come for the fun and stay for the savings. Only at Progressive's Home and Auto Bundle Extrava-Festa Save-a-thon. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Discounts not available in all states or situations.
I said Chantilly lace and eggshell, not matte.
Colby's Interior Design Consultancy is floored with new clients.
Wait, what am I looking at here? This looks like plaid.
They need an admin with an eye for design and a knack for numbers.
Okay, hey, look, take a look at this. Do those numbers look right?
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Screen for quality candidates with the skills your role needs with Indeed assessments. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the Titleist pre-sale fitting event happening August 16th through the 22nd. Be one of the first to feel the difference with the new Titleist T100, T100S, T200, and T300 irons. Featuring new materials and new refinements that power new precision. 4 irons to give you maximum performance for any type of dedicated golfer. Go to worldwidegolfshops.com and register to get a free custom fitting for your new T-Series irons today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee.
Take a break from the hustle. This is Halftime with Rob Thompson and Carl Schoening on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN 1250 and 94.5 FM.
Halftime. Grab your juice boxes, your orange slices. Get in the locker room. We got film to look at. We got to adjust for the afternoon. That first half you guys offered us, that's just not going to do it. We're going to close the week out with a bang, not a whimper. He's Carl Schoening. I'm Rob Thompson. And halftime continues up until 2 o'clock. Quick reminder, we're going to talk about it right now. Dallas Cowboy football preseason play continues. The Governor's Cup up for the third stringers to figure out who gets. Kickoff will be at 7 o'clock Saturday night. We're going to get you going at 6 o'clock. You know, Dallas Cowboy football can be found right here on San Antonio Sports Star, brought to you by Ewald Kubota. That's one fine tractor all season long. We're excited about the Cowboys actually probably getting a win. Preseason taking on the Texans, though, if you had to, just on what I've seen, the Texans actually looked pretty good against teams playing their threes. Their JV squad looked okay. But why would I want to watch the Cowboy-Texans game? There's one reason. And it has to do with not my fandom of the Cowboys. It is as I get closer and closer to the draft, is Zeke Elliott worthy of a top 5 draft pick? That's what I want to find out this weekend.
I highly doubt he plays. I don't see anybody playing. Amari Cooper gone. Dak Prescott not going to be there.
You know, we've gone back and forth with this. And Amari Cooper, he is a Dallas Cowboy, right? Still?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I haven't seen him do anything.
Is he not even on Hard Knocks?
They showed him working out practice, and I'm saying that tongue in cheek. He was activated Monday, and I do expect that he will play. And while Dak isn't going to play, and there is certainly enough argument out there not to start anybody ever in the preseason. Why risk an injury at all? See New York Jets and a guy named Lawson who's on crutches today. So if McCarthy decides no one plays, I certainly understand it, especially now that we know that La'el Collins will definitely not be out there. He had a little bit of a neck issue couple of days ago, though they're telling us everything's going to be fine. But I think Zeke in this new slimmer look, I think Zeke coming off the yips of the season he had last year, the way he stumbled out, and I blame COVID on most of that. The year before, though, he was a little fat. He put on some weight. This is the year he's going to have to put up or shut up. And I want to see Zeke. I think he's headed toward the kind of season we saw 4 years ago. But I want to see some proof. I want to see the thinner, faster Zeke. I saw him in practice, look pretty good against those guys. I do want to see him against players that are actively eager to hit him. See how he does. Everything else I think is gravy for the Cowboys. I don't expect much else other than position battles. And gosh knows what to expect from the Texans. I mean, why would you watch the Texans play other than to see if young Davis, Stanford quarterback first rounder, still is impressive? But there's literally nothing else on that roster or on that team that gives me any kind of thrill to watch.
So I take it that Tyrod Taylor's not going to go out there either. We're talking ones are most likely not going to play.
James might know better. You got to figure Tyrod's going to have to go play, right?
He might go out there and surprise everybody. He's not going to be Deshaun Watson, obviously, but he's a serviceable, signed as a backup quarterback that's going to have that starter experience. So if he does get an opportunity to play, I don't see why he would. But that's basically the only reason I can see going out there is what's going on at quarterback for the Texans. This
is the dress rehearsal. Let's not kid ourselves. This will be the last time to even have an opportunity to see the starters. So I don't know what McCarthy's going to do. I mean, we don't know really what his preseasons look like because This is our first one, and we've never gone into something like this where, other than the COVID year, and I don't count anything that happened. I don't know what his plan is. I do want to see some starters play, but it is going to be the last opportunity to actually see these guys, as many ones as possible, because next week it's nothing but backups. We know we won't see Dorrance Armstrong injured. Well, I wonder, Simi Fehoko, he's okay, right? That's the guy that's fighting for his job. We talked about not seeing Amari Cooper. I wonder what Simi Fehoko will do. And then Justin Hamilton, a defensive tackle. There's reasons to watch, but I think it's more important when you're watching the Cowboy game this weekend just to see the flow of the offense. And I'm like Rudy J from R&R in the morning. I don't know what I'm looking at. I just see when I see a guy catch the ball in space and I say, well, that's a third stringer. What if that was Tony Pollard? What would happen there? If it's a guy in space, that's all I care about.
And teams probably put a skeleton playbook out there just to keep any kind of scouting, because obviously week 1, Tampa's already watching everything on the Cowboys. But McCarthy already said earlier this week that the Jacksonville final preseason game on the 29th is just for players trying to make the roster. So if there's no invested interest this week, next week will be even worse, unless you just want to see who makes the 53-man roster.
Yeah, next week is for parents and family to watch their favorite kid finally make an NFL roster. That's what next week's for.
Or playing their last NFL game.
If you're playing and you're a vet and you're playing next week, you're literally fighting for your professional life.
That's the cool part about preseason football, is you're seeing guys laying it all out on the field because this is their chance to win a job.
Now, one of the things that I found very interesting is with Dan Quinn and him bringing in these hybrid style athletes, the Neals of the world, the safety linebackers, all these guys that are speedy and fast, from Jabril Cox that came from LSU and Micah Parsons, these guys that can get to the ball. The linebackers that were already there, Jalen Smith, who might be fighting for his Dallas Cowboy career, and Leighton Vander Esch, don't be surprised to see them on special teams, which is a departure from anything that Garrett would ever have done. Those starters would have not been on that. I think that tells you how deep those linebackers are, that Quinn and McCarthy are willing to risk starting types on the bomb squad.
That is an interesting move. Leighton Vander Esch has shown to be more durable than Sean Lee, but I could never see Sean Lee being out on the special teams field.
And even Vander Esch has been a little fragile. That next might still end up costing him a career. So I found that very interesting to see. But 2 years ago, the best young linebacker duo that the Cowboys, at least in Cowboys' eyes in football, is now on the bomb squad, on the kickoff team. Maybe that is a testament to Will McClay and his drafting ability with those news guys coming in.
Do you think they'll do that for a preseason game?
You'd have
throw
to.
them out there just to get used to it, because special teams is basically throw out your best athletes, maybe your most expendable players, because that's where the hardest hits happen. You're talking full sprints right there.
Now, this goes to philosophy. You know, the traditional belief is your kickoff, your special teams are made up by backups. But the great teams utilize special teams as truly 1/3 of their game plan. Belichick always stocks his kickoff and kick return teams and punt returns and field goals with starters. He uses the special teams as a weapon, and a lot of special teams coaches, head coaches use their special teams as a hiding place. This is a place where we can go put this guy and he get hit hard, and if he goes out, we're not going to miss him. It's a risky proposition to get your starters on kickoff, but the great coaches seem to be more preferential toward that than backups, than 2s and 3s.
All I know is if I'm an opposing player and I see Vander Esch out there might be a blindside block. You take that penalty to give a little hit and a little bit of energy out of a starting linebacker like that. He's
that
too
was the
valuable.
Most Philadelphia Eagle thing you've ever said.
Oh yeah,
that's a body bag right there, right?
Oh, we go right after those starters. If you have a quarterback running out of the pocket, you lay him out. You take the roughing the quarterback, roughing the passer.
Buddy Ryan lives.
This is a man's sport.
Buddy Ryan still out there, Eagle fan. You take out Leighton Vander Esch in a preseason game.
Not in a preseason game, in a regular season game. Yeah.
But if you're going to do it right, do it right.
Preseason?
Do it right. Don't forget tonight we got your Texas Rangers. They're taking on the Red Sox, who laid down and paid the perfect patsy to the New York Yankees. We'll get you going at 6. First pitch will be at 6:10. Rangers baseball here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250, 94.5 FM. Always brought to you by New Brakes Mobile Brake Repair. The Rangers go at it one more time. It's going to be a full weekend of football, and it's our last real opportunity to really start to prepare for fantasy football. Is there anything that you pull out of a fantasy game that makes you that you're looking for your sleepers?
For a preseason game?
You know, if you're looking for a sleeper, are you looking for a guy that maybe plays in third down? Maybe you see their offense and you go, well, if this guy was in at that point, he would be better than the 3. I'm not sure what you pull from this, but if you are going to pull anything out of preseason, it's going to be this weekend.
That's true. On that end, if that's sort of the argument you're making, I'm going to argue there's no point of basing your fantasy off this. I go off of mock drafts. There are people paying significantly more attention to potential value in the 5th through whatever round than me. And I trust those people. If Devontae Smith is available in the 8th round and I don't have an Eagle on my roster, I'm going to probably pick up Devontae Smith.
Do you have to have an Eagle on your roster?
I like to have an Eagle to cheer for.
Give you a reason to watch the game apart from your fandom.
I usually don't draft Cowboys at the same rate.
That makes sense.
If Zeke's available on the board and there's not a better running back projected, I'll draft Zeke. I don't have an issue with that. If it's Dak Prescott, I might have an issue with that. Just because, the running back's going to get the gives, especially at the short yardage in the red zone. You hope Zeke punches it in, but I'd rather find somebody else to cheer for than a Cowboys quarterback.
If you let your fandom get in the way of your fantasy team, you're welcome into my league. You can come on in. All I need is your entry fee. And when you drop out halfway through the season because you drafted all your favorite guys, I'll keep your money and you can carry it.
See, that was the first time I ever played fantasy. That was my mistake. I think I drafted 3 Eagles. Can't do that.
I don't draft my favorite teams type. I got to have a Cowboy. I'm like you. I need to have at least one to give me a rooting interest. I'd like for him to be a starter. But when you go to what affects you in the draft, Hard Knocks is the one that spoils me every year. I will end up drafting 2 guys off whatever team was on Hard Knocks every year because I felt like I've seen something in the tape that nobody else did, and I am never right. Never. And nothing has ever panned out for me. Last year, I would like to thank Austin Eckler for performing. And with the Mambo King, saw him on preseason, thought that guy is the best athlete I've ever seen.
Those HBO cameras make anybody look good.
Well, we're hoping that it'll make Rudy J look good. There's an ongoing search on Hard Knocks to see if Rudy J will actually make it on because he worked so hard during training camp. He was buddying it up to all the camera people. Hey, we need some B-roll right here. Let's see if he actually got it. So far, no, nothing even close. It was a feeble attempt.
I know it was early in the morning, but y'all probably should have tried to get an HBO camera out there for Jerry Jones or for Mike McCarthy.
We tried.
No, they just didn't come.
The bubble was such we didn't have access to a lot of that stuff. But they tried to make the NFL camera types they're ubiquitous there. There's a guy standing everywhere with a camera. Obviously, they've been ordered. They're under orders to be at a certain place at a certain time to get film of whatever they're chasing. But did you notice in the Hard Knocks the other night where they had Jerry Jones sitting in one of the hotel rooms on the phone, bare desk, one piece of paper, using, I don't know, an iPad to do a Zoom meeting? And he was discussing like he was the general manager. Did that feel like a plant? Did that feel like that was there to make Jerry look like a general manager? Because when he was talking about Dak Prescott and doing all this stuff, the paper in front of him was blank. There was nothing on the paper.
He is the general manager.
Well, I know, but is it in name only? You know what I mean? Like, Jerry's the general manager because he's the owner, but the true general managing is going on with Will McClay and Steven. Because he was sitting there and, Jerry is also the general manager and he's sitting in the room and he's like, now tell me about this Dak Prescott. It seemed like a plant, like a setup.
everything that Jerry Jones does on anything that is post-produced is a setup. It's probably still going to happen, such as that Zoom meeting.
Like propaganda kind of stuff?
Absolutely.
I do believe that Jerry has stepped back. I do believe that this year more than ever, he seemed to be there as much as a fan as an owner. And in previous years, he couldn't act that way because it seemed like there was always a contract issue. Somebody was holding out. Somebody needed to get paid. Somebody wanted to get paid. Somebody wasn't at camp. Somebody needed to be at camp. You got a hole here and a hole there. But this camp, at least for the time that we were there, the only drama was Dak. And there was even not a whole lot of worry there. So maybe it allowed him to be more of a fan than a general manager. But you do get the sense that, Jerry, now it's time to play with your toy.
Yes, he's kicking back. He's enjoying the football team. And that's because Mike McCarthy's there. And Mike McCarthy can finally coach the way a Dallas Cowboys head football coach should coach. I'm almost certain, and this is the Eagle fan talking to me, but I'm almost certain that Jason Garrett was Jerry Jones via proxy. Jerry Jones could go down and say, hey, go for it on 4th down if he so wanted. I don't think Jerry Jones ever wanted to go for it on 4th. Neither did Jason Garrett. But all the feelings that I got from Jason Garrett was he must have done exactly what Jerry said, and that's why Jason Garrett got to keep his job.
I think that's the narrative. I don't think that's absolutely true. I think that Jerry had tremendous sway during the week. I think Jerry had tremendous sway to the players that that Jason had to coach. He's the general manager. I don't know how much he had Garrett was never a bootlicker. He was never a yes man, but he was also always amenable to the higher ups. I don't think he ever told Jerry no.
Oh, no. You can't tell Jerry no.
And I'm not sure how many times he had to, but I know or was put in a position to where if he could have, he would have been able to say no. Like, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to play that guy. I'm not going to run this. And I don't think Jerry asked that very often. I still haven't gotten a feel for McCarthy yet. I still don't know how much he is under the thumb or the control of Jerry. I don't think he is, but I don't know how you can take that job and not be. I don't know how you could work for Jerry Jones and not be put in a situation to do or say or play a guy that might not be in your best interest. And I'm not sure how different it is from any other owner and any other team, because the guy does own and he does sign your checks and you do what you're told by your boss. And I'm not sure how much Jerry has asked Mike McCarthy to do things like that. I know eventually it will happen if it hasn't already, but I don't think most coaches worth their salt would just go, yes, sir.
McCarthy, I don't get that vibe from, but Jason Garrett, I very much got that vibe from. And I don't know what the extent of it is, obviously, but there was and still remains a little bit a sense that Jerry Jones would go out there and coach if he actually could without being a laughingstock.
He did get away from leaving the press box and coming down to the sideline. Remember those years when they would be down by a touchdown or two and you'd see Jerry put on his overcoat and start heading down to the sidelines and kind of stand way down from the coach, whether it be Garrett's early years or Wade Phillips prior to that or Campo. You'd know that Jerry was coming down and the swagger. You better pay attention to me. I might not say something, but if you see me down there, what you've been doing is wrong. Start doing the other stuff. I haven't seen that lately. And I think that's a little bit of Jerry letting go and starting to enjoy.
He's definitely stepping into the ownership versus the front office role that he played. And good for him. He should enjoy this team. He's seeing the twilight go past. He made amends with Jimmy Johnson. Great for him. Botello Franklin joins us on Facebook. He says, I don't draft my team in Washington or the team I hate in Dallas. Too much bias. He also says that Mike McCarthy is just happy to have a quarterback who runs his plays. I'm sure he'd be much happier having Aaron Rodgers behind center, but that's how that goes. All right, here on Halftime, we love to talk NBA. We have a lot of stuff coming up on NBA, including a Woj bomb, and Shaq throws some shade at San Antonio. You're going to want to hear this.
What else is new?
Yeah, thanks for spending your break with us here on Halftime. This is San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
Here's pitch. Double your power. Double your fun. Double your Rangers pleasure. The exclusive action happens here on the official home plate of the Texas Rangers. ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
The Houston Astros got back to their winning ways Thursday afternoon, avoiding a series sweep from the Royals. It took an extra inning for the Astros to defeat the Royals 6-3, securing the win with 3 runs in the 10th. Carlos Correa went 2 of 3 and drew 2 walks at the plate while coming around to score 3 times. The Texas Rangers dropped a heartbreaker against the Seattle Mariners 9-8 in 11 innings. The Mariners pick up the 3-game sweep of the Rangers. Despite the loss, Texas right fielder Aldous Garcia had a day to remember, going 2 of 4 with a home run. And the San Antonio Missions win last night in Corpus Christi against the Hooks, 8-5. Those are your baseball headlines. For San Antonio Sports Star, I'm Carl Schoening.
Research shows that people remember radio ads with British accents. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need, take it from a Brit.
Oi, barmy insurance blokes fetching dosh out your pocket. It's barmy. Liberty Mutual won't leave you skint, mate.
Can you just say Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need?
I think that's what I said, you blooming.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
O'Reilly. Do you even remember the last time you changed your spark plugs? Well, then now's a good time. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get a $15 gift card after mail-in rebate when you purchase 4 or more select Iridium spark plugs. Put the pep back in your car. Visit your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store or shop O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
When Heidi Andrews worked at another jewelry store and heard all the great things about Diamonds Direct, she thought it had to be too good to be true.
You know, I didn't believe it at first. I thought maybe it was all talk. But, you know, I definitely had clients that would come over and they would show me the receipts. I was like, wow, you got a really great deal and it's a beautiful piece. Good job. I had a little Diamonds Direct envy. I was very jealous.
That's when Heidi knew she had to leave the ordinary store and follow her customers to Diamonds Direct, where she can now offer more of everything, especially more value.
I have more to offer all of my clients in terms of any designer they need, any custom they need, any diamonds they need, any gemstones they need. We have it all. We have it at the best prices. We have it at the best quality. Here at Diamonds Direct, things are not too good to be true. Everything is true. When we say it, we give it to you, and you get exactly what you're asking for, or more.
Diamonds Direct. It's all true. Come see for yourself. Official jeweler of the Dallas Cowboys at the shops at La Cantera.
It's summer. That means grilling season. Jason and Rob here for Tri-County Meat Market. Get into one of their 2 locally owned Tri-County Meat Markets for the best meat for your grill. Tri-County has carefully selected certified prime Angus beef cuts, Wagyu, and upper choice, including their own homegrown Wagyu.
Tri-County has everything you need to up your grilling game, from beef, chicken, pork, fajitas, poppers, and more. Suck up on that 5 for $25 Tri-County Meat Market on Ralph Fair Road over on Heavener or online at tricountymmeat.com.
1, 2, 3.
Live and local sports talk to get you out the door. Rob Thompson, Rudy J, R&R in the morning on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN 1250 and 94.5 FM.
Don't mind the brake lights. We'll get you there. San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN, AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
Thank you, Keyshawn. I'm Carl Schoening. He's Rob Thompson. Edwin running the board here. We have James Pledger keeping a watchful eye. You might hear Pledge chime in. We got some hardcore rock playing right now. Yeah. Edwin, can you tell me who that is?
I don't think he knows. off the top of his head.
No worries. I don't know who it is either, but I do enjoy some heavy metal guitar every
A
now
little
and
bit
again.
of Incubus.
Incubus? Cool. Pudge makes those.
Incubus? That is a terrifying name. The name of the band is Incubus?
Isn't that what you do to eggs when you want them to hatch?
You listen to that, you got to go to church. Incubus. Yikes.
You're thinking of incubating.
There you go. Got to be careful with those syllables there. All righty. So I teased the Woj bomb. I promised it. I'm going to give it to y'all right now. Woj drops this, and it's related to Texas A&M fans, as the former Aggie forward Robert Williams has agreed to a 4-year extension with the Boston Celtics. $54 million. I have no idea how he fell that late. I think 26, 28 range was where the Celtics took him.
He's a little raw.
Yeah.
He's a little raw.
But still, you know that you saw the talent.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and he's one of those one-and-done guys, and a lot of those one-and-done guys are little raw.
You know, one of the things with Robert was, he came out of Louisiana, and he first really burst onto the scene to be recruited at the summer before his senior year. He had really come from nowhere. He was a one-stoplight town in Louisiana. Nobody knew who the heck he was. And this is a 6'10" kid that can touch the top of the box on a basketball rim. He can really elevate.
People thought that he wouldn't adjust to the NBA because he said College Station was too big for him.
Yeah, I mean, he came from literally nowhere. And there wasn't a lot of higher end coaching. Some of these guys have been getting skills trained since they were in 8th grade. And by the time they're ready to go to D1, they got a lot under their belt. Robert was not that guy. He was just new to the scene. So it's taken a little while. And I do think that the best years that Robert will have are in front of him. Obviously, so do the Celtics. I'm a little surprised at the amount he got.
What is he, 22, 23?
Yeah, this is his first contract. This is the second contract. And, he stumbled out of the gate. They drafted him. He showed up late. He came in a little overweight. He acted like the kid that they drafted. The fact that they kept him tells me that he's turned things around. That's a good keep for them. It keeps them super athletic. That's some athleticism that when he's not on the court, they definitely have missed. Because, they've been running around with Tice. And who else did they run out there a couple of years back? From Portland.
Wasn't Kelly Olynyk on the squad?
Olynyk's been on this roster. Baines. They've had a lot of bigs, but not the athleticism that Robert offers. And obviously, Ime Udoka is looking to get a little bit more quick on the front line. Good get.
Yeah, this deal puts Williams in the top half of the league center despite only 13 starts in his career.
I'm surprised.
Lonnie Walker's up for a similar contract extension.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that puts a little bit of pressure on the Spurs to make a similar contract. I was thinking that would be right around along for Lonnie Walker, and I think Lonnie's much better than Robert Williams.
I think they're equal in their importance to their team. If they pan out, they're going to be huge, but both teams have made plan B and C just in case. That's how I would put those two. I think both of them, their ceiling is super high. Not quite exactly what they thought they were going to be after a couple of years, but enough to reinvest. But I still think Lonnie is being shopped elsewhere. Other guys are looking to sign that contract.
I doubt it. The Spurs are going to let Lonnie have his season this year. This will be a good year for Lonnie.
But as you said, we just got Jockstrap signed. So that's 19 guys under contract.
It's 16, but it'll be 17 when they finally sign Bryn Forbes, whenever that's official.
So there's 2 guys that are going to have to exit one way or another.
And one of those guys is potentially Drew Eubanks.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to find an actual source to maybe confirm this. A couple sources told me that yesterday, not sources as in people, as in resources that I check out, websites, that yesterday was the day that Drew Eubanks needed to be waived on for his contract to be guaranteed. ESPN said it was today. So this could be a big day for Drew Eubanks. And we have some Drew stuff to get into. But Shaquille O'Neal went to high school here.
Cole High School.
And he throws some shade at San Antonio unnecessarily.
At every opportunity.
He's on the Big Podcast, obviously, appropriately named for a guy like Shaq. And this was sent to me from Jeff Garcia. Shout out to Jeff Garcia. He sends me some stuff all the time about going on with the Spurs. And the panel on the Big Podcast was asked to eliminate the big three of the Nets, one of the big three of the Nets, which is James Harden, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. The Heat, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade. The Warriors, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green. Or the Spurs, Tim, Tony, Manu. The all-time winningest trio in NBA history is who Shaq went with, the San Antonio Spurs. And this is what Shaq says. Listen, they were a great team. Don't get me wrong. They were boring. We're not talking about getting it done. We're talking about charisma, style. They were boring.
And they beat you.
Exactly. Nothing boring about winning, Rob.
You know, he's right. Shaq is absolutely right. It was boring. It was highly effective, surgical basketball. It wasn't about what Shaq did. But for a couple of times, the Spurs owned him. He's right. The big three was boring. Highly effective, most effective of all time. And if you're not going for the wins, you're going for the show. That kind of defines you, Shaq. You just told me a lot about yourself.
And who knows what would have happened if the Heat big three had stuck together, if they were still trying to fight it out right now. I imagine, well, obviously Chris Bosh would have had to have retired early. They didn't play their whole careers together. The Warriors, man, they were a cheat code. That just wasn't fair. Klay Thompson probably should have gotten the nod over Draymond, but that was a big four in San Francisco and the Bay Area.
I think that's the greatest big three ever put together. When you put Klay and Steph shooting combined with the cheat that is Kevin Durant, the Harden group right now will rival it. But those, as far as just straight up talent, I put them above LeBron and Wade and Bosh.
The weird thing about the Spurs big three is that Tony and Manu never had a chance to be the man on their own team. And I would say that Manu could be just as good as James Harden if he was ever put on his team.
If he had the same rules, if he was playing with the same rules that Harden is right now, no question about it. Now, he's not James Harden, different kind of player. I mean, he would be more of a, if Manu was left to his own devices, he would be more, he wouldn't have nearly the type of game. He would have more rebounds. He would have a few more charges. He's a more of a complete player, but you would never get what Harden was capable of from him. I think he would have been legendary, but only legendary to the extent that Manu alone wasn't going to carry anybody to a title.
Well, yeah, and you could say the same thing about Harden. Mario says on Facebook,
we're going to continue saying it until he puts a ring on. Yes.
Well, he is Kevin Durant to be the number one guy now. But Mario says on Facebook, not making free throws is the ultimate stupid, boring thing to watch. And I can tell you, it was cringeworthy. Shaq used to say, I make them when they count. And sometimes they counted and he didn't make them.
Yeah. If you're a purist, but look at the freak now. I mean, he makes them when it mattered. It's easy to argue. And I think anybody'd put up with not making him, especially Giannis. But if we're going to nitpick on free throws, okay. I'm with you.
I think that's just Mario returning a little shade to Shaq.
The thing I have a problem with Shaq is this is not surprising. If it has anything to do with San Antonio, dude, at some point you have to acknowledge the fact that you at least spent 5 years here. We don't claim you as ours. We'll give you the military as your birthright. Let you travel the world with your father, and thank you for your service, sir. But why at every opportunity does he have to throw shade at this city? I felt like we treated him well. He manufactured stories to make himself, I don't know, about David and maybe to create some sort of competitive desire inside. But if Shaq has had the opportunity, he downgrades and denigrates San Antonio at every chance.
I love Shaq, but that's the one thing that I have an issue with him on. Yeah, he was fun to watch. He was fun to be off the floor. He was entertaining as well. He continues to be, but he's a little shaky on his opinion of San Antonio, and I think that's just the rivalry bitterness coming in right there. Hey, that was a fun first half.
Because he's the third best big man to ever play here.
Hey, there you go. All right, hey. That's a fun debate. We might have to get into it some other point here. That was a fun first half of halftime. He's Rob Thompson. I'm Carl Schoening. Edwin behind the table. We have the best shooter in NBA history from three-point range on the Spurs roster. We're going to hear from him on the second half of halftime. Thanks for spending your break with us. This is San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250, 94.5 FM.
Here we go. The Dallas Cowboys live here all season long. Every snap.
I love it.
Every catch.
Let's go have a day, huh?
Every touchdown. Plus, we'll give you the complete breakdown and preview of every game from our experts. Dallas Cowboys insiders and head coach Mike McCarthy. We're all fans.
Yeah! Yeah!
Hear the call from Brad Sham and the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Right here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN 1250 and 94.5 FM.
Not all pizza places are the same. Mellow Mushroom originated hand-tossed, stone-baked classic Southern pizza. Not in the mood for pizza? Order a calzone, hoagie, sandwich, burger, or a mellow salad and see how care goes into every item on the menu. Take your pick from 24 draft beers and or handcrafted cocktails. And many of the pizzas can be made gluten-free or vegan. Mellow Mushroom is at 1604 in Stone Oak Parkway. Hang with friends, watch the game, and mellow out at Mellow Mushroom.
The granddaddy of all hunting shows returns to San Antonio. The 2021 Hunters Extravaganza, August 20th through the 22nd at the Freeman Coliseum Expo Hall. Bring the kids and see Gator Country's huge alligators and last season's bucks in our annual deer contest. Check out the latest in hunting gadgets and gear and enter our locked and loaded mega giveaway to win big. August 20th through the 22nd at the Freeman Coliseum Expo Hall. For details and tickets, go to huntersextravaganza.com. A Texas Trophy Hunters production.
For the ones going above and beyond. For the ones reaching out, helping out, and lending a hand. For the ones people count on. You can count on Grainger. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry. Backed by 24/7 customer support and specialists to help with hard-to-find products. Because you've got everyone's back. We've got yours. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger. For the ones who get it done.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
When your AC fails in the San Antonio heat, there is no time to search. Save Service First in your contacts and have an AC tech on speed dial 24/7. Service First. Save us before you need us.
Have Service First in your phone. 5211500.
One team, one mission. KZDC, San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN, AM 1250 and 94.5 FM. Rob Thompson, Carl Schoening. Halftime.
Half two of halftime. It might be actually full time for some of y'all out there. It's Friday. We're having fun. If you're one of those lucky people that get off early on Fridays, congratulations to you.
Remember the time when, back in the day, when if you worked at USAA, that was the lure. I'm talking 20, 30 years ago. That USAA, if you went to work with them, 4-day work week.
What?
Yeah, you had a 4-day work week, put in 10 hours a day, and got your Friday off, or your Monday off.
But it's you lose me at 10 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly. But most people do put in 10 hours a day. Most people don't just work 40 hours. If you're on a salary, you're working more than that.
Yeah, I wake up and I compile the headlines here for this show, so you can kind of see that. And I get rolling and I start thinking about work. So it's kind of a 10-hour day for me, but it's not officially a 10-hour day.
Like, you're not a lawyer. You don't get to bill just when you're thinking about a client. You kind of got to be here doing something. You don't get to, you know what? I thought about you. That's 5 minutes of bill. But I do think that, I mean, most people put in a good 10-hour day.
I don't charge y'all for anything related to the show.
You can charge us. You
Send
can
the
send
invoice.
the bill, but that doesn't mean it'll get paid. The payment will come on the 1st and the 15th.
I'm Carl Schoening. He's Rob Thompson. Edwin is pushing the buttons, making things happen back there. James Pledger with a watchful eye, playing Master Yoda. He's making sure everything's all good. He's right there on the camera. If you're watching on the Facebook Live or YouTube streams, you can also watch us on sasportstar.com.
Hey, go there. By the way, if you go to sasportstar.com, we got a couple things that you need to be aware of. One, we want you to win $500. Back to school cash can be yours. And not only will you walk away with $500, but your school of choice will get a $500 donation to go towards school supplies. Helps all. We have begun and will be for the rest of this football season giving away Dallas Cowboy home game tickets. Every home game, we'll have some tickets. We got them in the bucket. Go ahead and go to our web. I almost said it. That was a check swing. sasportstar.com. Get yourself signed up. Win some Dallas Cowboy tickets. We got tickets. We got parking passes. We got everything you need to be a Dallas Cowboy fan. So go there on the regular. And while you're there, you can watch us live. You'll see Carl. No turnover chain on that one.
Nope.
I didn't. No, I check swing. I said E. That's all I said. And I should, you know what? As a producer you are, I should be getting credit for not saying that other thing more often. I'm an old dog, and a new trick is not that easy. Halftime. You're on San Antonio Sports Star. Notice there was no article in front of halftime.
Nope. It's just
I have to
halftime.
continue to practice.
It's all good. We all have to practice.
Let's hear
makes
Drew
perfect.
Bledsoe. I'm Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe. So
where's the chain?
So we talk about it. The Spurs need to be better at shooting next year. That's pretty much the main focus for this Spurs team, is to be a better three-point shooting team. And on their roster, with a minimum of 2 attempts from behind the arc, the Spurs have the best three-point shooter in NBA history on their roster in Drew Eubanks. And Drew Eubanks, today's a big day for him because he's one of these people that, as you mentioned, as you put on the turnover chain for the people listening in the radio.
There you go.
Yeah.
It is on.
So Drew Eubanks, if I'm not mistaken, the resources that I've checked out say that his contract became fully guaranteed because he was not waived by today. ESPN says today is the deadline. Either way, I'm assuming Drew Eubanks is on this team. He's this Austin Spur that they developed from a two-way guy, went undrafted out of Oregon State, and he continues to improve. And he was joined by Ty Yeager on the At the Line podcast doing a Q&A that came out today, and I was listening to it. And this is the part that really stood out to me.
Right now, in this moment in time, I've never felt more confident than I do in my shooting. Like I told you guys a couple weeks ago, Chip and I not revamped my whole shot, but changed quite a lot of things. And it's just really made me more confident in it. And he's told me, Drew, you have a great shot. Like, you're one of the best shooters on the team when you shoot the ball. But your problem is you don't shoot the ball. And so right now, a lot of people don't realize it's not just good enough to be able to knock down the shots in practice. That's a huge part of it. But being able to have that mentality to be able to read a situation and know when and where to not shoot. I would say a good example of that is, like, in college, I could shoot the ball. I was really knockdown shooter from like mid-range and stuff, but it wasn't in the game plan for me to do that. And so when I would take shots like that, if I made it, coach couldn't say anything. But if I missed, then it's through, that's not what we want you to do. We want you to be here, blah, blah, blah. So when you have like a voice like that, and it sticks with, it's not only that voice, but it's your internal voice too. So for me, this off season, I've kind of just focused on shooting without a conscience and shooting when I'm open, because being able to read and recognize when to take a shot or when to drive is huge. And so once you get confidence shooting and being able to just like shoot without a conscience, then it becomes more natural. And I'm sure you can name off a couple of guys in the league who don't have a conscience when it comes to shooting, but that's where I'm trying to be, because I know when I shoot the ball, I have just as good a chance of making it as damn near anybody else on the team. And granted, we did just get a bunch of good shooters, but still, like, I'm not going to take bad shots. I try to only take good shots, but now this expands my range to be able to shoot a bunch of different good shots for me. It's mainly mentality and just getting used to having mentality, and it's having the trust of your coaches too to knock down the shot and to, believe in you. So I feel like I have all those things this year.
What'd you think of that?
Drew Eubanks. What was the name of the podcast? The Big
At the Line.
At the Line. Speaking about his improved shooting and working with Chip England. No one has done more to improve their skill set than Drew Eubanks. He's worked hard and he's athletic. You look at the production we're getting from a 6'9", 6'9", It really is impressive what he's done and how he has improved his game every year. But I don't see where he fits on this team. unless, of course, what he is saying is absolutely true. The way that he will stay a San Antonio Spur will not be the work in the paint that he's been remarkably successful at considering his size. He is efficient down there, and he's an NBA player. But for him to stay a Spur, that three-point shot's got to be there. Everything he's saying, I think that the Spurs have told him, like, if you're going to stay a Spur, whether it's two-way, and I don't think you want it to be two-way, you want to stay here, it's going to have to be because you can be a threat from the outside. You're going to have to fit the mold of what this team is becoming, and you're going to have to hit those threes. And if he can do that, I think there's room. But an undersized 4'5" in the modern league, it's just really hard to hold on to him. It's going to be hard for the Spurs specifically to find a place for him on the bench and in the game.
And that's how he has to crack the rotation is as a three-point threat, because he's a good rebounder. He's athletic enough to grab boards above the rim.
Remarkably efficient rebounding, especially at offense. He's a good offensive rebounder, and that's innate. Good offensive rebounders are just kind of born that way.
Great hook shot.
Yes, he has lots of skill, but only average teams keep tweeners. Unless the tweener is here for a very specific reason. Unless you bring in a PJ Tucker, you're my LeBron guard. You're the three-point and my dog that's going to go pick up. If you're that, then you can be a tweener in the league. If you're just a really good tweener who is playing above their athletic ability and the skill set is the key, it's just hard to find a place. I like Drew Eubanks. But I think he's got an uphill climb because of what we talked about just a second ago. Jock is here.
Jock, Zach Collins when he gets healthy.
They're here to take – and Zach Collins is what Drew Eubanks is trying to become, and he's already bigger.
You're also talking about Jakob Poeltl being in there as a starting five. He can't shoot, but
Jakob's not going
shoot.
anywhere. Yeah, Jakob's got a different gig. And Eubanks was asked to do something far beyond what I think he's capable of doing in the NBA. He's not. By skill and by mindset, he's a 4-5. By body in the modern league, he's a big 3 or a small 4 anymore. And the shooting was late, but at least if it's here, it'll help. Like Drew Eubanks. I just don't know where he fits here.
Oh, sorry about that. Didn't realize my computer had its volume up right there. So if you heard that, we heard it in the studio. But anyhow, moving on. Drew Eubanks is somebody who he worked hard at his game. He's a Spurs project that they started I think he was the second two-way contract that they ever signed. Yeah. And he was a knockdown mid-range shooter in Austin. And when he got the occasional opportunity to show it at the NBA level, if he can stretch the floor, he's going to be in that rotation of guys that get their chance to be floor spacing bigs because the Spurs realize that's what they need. Jakob will have his own chess piece time to be used. He's a great screen assister. He knows how to make his teams better no matter where he's coming off the bench or starting. Jakob Poeltl, that's a great value they got for him as well. I think he's one of the best centers that you can have at what he does, especially when you consider his contract. But Drew Eubanks, he's only 24, 25. He's one of these young guys that has built up team chemistry with this roster. And that's where the Spurs are right now. They're going to throw in a whole bunch of young guys that need to be improved shooters. And Eubanks is part of that crew. He said on the podcast a couple weeks before for At the Line that he thought before signing McDermott and Bryn Forbes that he was the best shooter on the team. And it's almost like baseball hitters. You need to have that kind of overconfidence in yourself, but also, like he said on the podcast, he needs to be able to shoot correctly. Correct. No bad shots.
What England is telling him is you're going to have to be a threat. If you're going to be everything that that your skill set will allow, you have to hit threes. And it's not so much about hitting every three. It's about being a threat enough to pull your defender out. And then he talked about knowing the difference between when I should drive and when I should take a jump shot. That's very hard to learn, very hard to get there, because quite frankly, he's never been a threat from outside, or at least never been perceived to be.
The Spurs have never used him in that way.
Exactly. Never been perceived or a threat. So if he can hit that three and become a 30% or better three-point shooter, you don't have to be great. You just got to know that when he catches the ball in the corner or wherever his most comfortable analytic spot is, if you're a defender, you know at the very least you have to offer something. You can't just stand back there and watch him shoot, or he'll put it in your eye. As soon as that occurs, then his NBA career will get a little bit easier. But doing that in practice with Chip England 5,000 times over the summer is still remarkably different from doing it with guys that are actively coming at you that are bigger and faster than you are. And that's what he's going to deal with every time he walks out onto the court. Bigger and faster than him.
There's an interesting career path for a guy like Drew Eubanks that I wonder if they're going to die out eventually as a strictly floor spacer. Because Anthony Tolliver made a lot of money doing that. He's probably bounced around a dozen teams by this point in his career, but there's going to be a spot on an NBA roster for that guy, even if it's an end-of-the-bench shooter that is a floor spacing big. And even if it's not with the San Antonio Spurs, Drew is doing the right thing here, making sure he can knock down a three to be on somebody's roster.
As of today, he has been guaranteed. He got a $500,000 guarantee, fully guaranteed as of the end of business today. So he will make 1.7 this year. He is under contract, whether it will be paid to sit at home or paid to play in Austin. Good news is they Spurs kept him around. That tells him he'll be at training camp.
Yeah, I'd like to see what happens here because the Spurs do have to dwindle the roster down unless they make a trade, or that's how they could potentially dwindle the roster down. Al-Farouq Aminu is one of the likely cuts, as it looks like. He came over in the DeMar DeRozan sign and trade with Chicago. And there's some interesting things that go into that because he was a serviceable player in Portland 3 years ago. Now he's on his fourth team in 4 years, signed for the full MLE, and he's a $10 million expiring contract, which means if you attach a first-round pick to that, or if there's a team looking to make a salary dump for a guy that they're not particularly interested in anymore and clear up some cap space for the summer, Aminu, even if he doesn't play, could still be valuable to the Spurs in that sense to bring in another player eventually.
Before we get to the countdown, before you give us the news, with Thaddeus Young and Aminu part of that deal, do you expect both of them to be on the roster?
At the moment, yes.
Okay, and if there was one to move, what's the most likely candidate? Because we hear a lot about Thaddeus Young, though I'm not sure where Aminu fits here other than being a vet and a Swiss Army knife.
Thaddeus Young has significantly higher chance of being an impact player for the Spurs. That being said, he is also coveted by other teams that might be trying to shore up their roster. And if you can flip an expiring contract, whether it's Aminu or Thaddeus, for some assets, the Spurs in the retooling phase, as I like to call it right now, I don't think it's necessarily a rebuild, but it's a retool for sure. Aminu is more likely to be on the roster but not play. If Thaddeus is on the roster, he could be the starting four.
He should be,
but both of them are likely to be on the roster because I just don't see any team cutting somebody and paying them $10 million to sit at home.
Oh, I don't think there'll be a cut. But I just you say retool, I think most people look at it as a rebuild. I think we're rebuilding more than we ever have. How's that? We're not at a full rebuild, but we know the Spurs. The only time we've ever fully tanked, we know the story. 96.
So let's define
more this year than anything else. This is a rebuild.
I'll define rebuild versus retool. A rebuild is where you have holes on your roster that you're trying to plug.
Don't we have that?
Where?
Shooting. Name the position. We don't have a starting legitimate five for the NBA. I don't think we have a clearly defined role for what our two guard is or our guards are, as we lost the dominant guard for the last 3 years and the dominant off the bench guard in Patty Mills. I think there's a lot of questions. I won't say holes.
There's questions, not holes, because the shooters there are Bryn Forbes, McDermott, Derek White has been effective enough. He might not be a knockdown shooter, but yeah, that's the same thing I've been saying. Everybody on the Spurs roster is going into a new role, and we'll have to see how that works out. Drew Eubanks among them. He could potentially be the only guy that stays in his role from last year as somebody who gets spot minutes behind Jakob Poeltl. But Jock Landale, Zach Collins, they're coming for that spot too.
Absolutely. It's going to be an uphill stroll for Drew Eubanks. You've worked hard, man. You've deserved the shot. We wish you best of luck. If you're sitting in the drive-thru right now waiting to order your tots and your large burger, we want to make sure when you get back to work, you can talk intelligently about the daily sports headlines. That's why Carl offers you his countdown. Let's do that.
All right, headline 2 in Carl's countdown. Duke is looking into the source of a bacteria outbreak at a Coach K camp, as the bacteria, and I'm going to butcher this bacteria name, so I might need the chain, Legionella.
Oh, yeah.
Was exposed to a lot of fantasy campers out at the Coach K camp. 84 people were likely exposed and expected to recover, but they're experiencing flu-like symptoms, including fever, muscle fatigue, and that's kind of crazy. It's not COVID, but that's scary to hear that you go to a camp and you catch something else, and that just makes the headlines today. Hopefully, Coach K is all right too. He's in his advanced ages.
You run into Legionella in natural water reservoirs and things like that. It can make you sick. A little intestinal distress. Looks like somebody had some bad water around the practice court. The water got a little warm. Something started breeding in there. Never had it, but I've been around people that had it. It's not a pretty thing for about 12 hours.
No, that doesn't sound fun at all. All righty, moving on to something a little more pleasant. That's fun. Headline 1, LeBron James reacts to amassing 0 votes for NBA's best player in offseason survey by saying thank you. LeBron, only 2 years removed from being the best player on a championship team in the bubble, gets no votes. I don't see this happening to Jordan if he were to stick around in 2000.
Well said. I will disagree. The Washington Wizards, Jordan, ain't nobody talking about it.
Well,
LeBron's not there. LeBron's not there. I'm not trying to equate the two. Yeah. But let me give you some background as to what occurred. Season is done. ESPN is polling 10 general managers around the NBA, asking a series of questions about last year and looking forward to next year. One of the questions was, who is the best player in the NBA? And the 5 general managers split. 5 went to KD, 5 went to Giannis. That is not saying that LeBron is no longer part of the great generation that he is or not one of the better guys in the league. He probably is 3rd on everybody else's list, but he didn't make that, so he got no votes. But we know LeBron, he reads the paper. LeBron has antenna up, and as soon as that came out, the tweet that he's washed up, all that goes along with it, we poked the bear. I hope that he comes back with renewed intensity, though I don't think he wasn't going to come back with a renewed intensity.
LeBron has said himself that he'll never be 100% again in his career. The injuries have just piled up too much. He was an Iron Man for the longest time until his first season in LA.
I want to take a quick poll of the 4 of us kind of walking around here. Who is the best player in the NBA, Carl?
Going Giannis.
I'm going to go with Kevin Durant. Edwin? Thoughts?
Kevin Durant.
Kevin Durant. James?
Durant.
All right, 3-1. And I think it is half of one or 6 of one, half a dozen of another. They're both spectacular. It's just how do you want to score? They're both going to go get them.
And in 3 months, LeBron could probably take back that title.
You think he will?
He almost has to. It's such a weird team that's constructed. They're going to rely on LeBron and Westbrook a lot this year. No more than any other LeBron team, but he has a little extra motivation. They're going to call that team washed all year long.
You know, if I was Vogel trying to coach the legend that is LeBron, I think it would be an easy ask, though the perception would be bad. I'd go into LeBron knowing that you got Russell, you got Anthony, you got a bunch of alpha dudes that can go score. I would challenge LeBron to lead the league in assists. I would rather have 13, 14 assists from you every night than 26, 28 points every night.
Didn't he do that 2 years ago?
Yes.
He
yes.
did.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
He's fully capable of it. I would challenge him like, dude, this team is set up for you to initiate. You start this fire. You get everybody going. Your gravy will come after everybody else eats. I would challenge LeBron. I want you to lead the league in assists. I want to see if you can average 18 assists a game.
LeBron might be the best passer I have ever seen
Absolutely.
in my life.
No question. But he's so good at other things, sometimes you don't want him to pass.
I think his biggest weakness is an open teammate because he's also one of the best scorers I've ever seen in my life.
Absolute truth. And as you get older, there's only certain things that you have the physical stamina to be great at all the time. Be a willing passer. Be a giving player. Let Russell average 24. See if we can get Anthony Davis to average 28 a game. And you average 14, 16, 12 assists. That's championship caliber. I just wonder if he would abide by that or would be willing to go in and do something like that.
Patella Franklin chimes in and says Malik Monk might be the best underrated pickup. And that was a numbers game that happened in Charlotte. I don't see, there's a lot of good free agents still left on the market. So maybe there wasn't a better deal out there. But Malik Monk getting to L.A., that's a steal of a deal. It's a minimum 1 year deal.
I like Malik. I watched him coming out of Arkansas when he was a young school bud. Kentucky certainly proved his NBA worth. But we'll see. I'm down. He's an athlete. But all those guys, him, R.J. Barrett, all the other Kentucky dudes that have come out, they're so young, it takes a little bit of seasoning. So a little bit of time on the court. Yeah, he's got every skill.
And headline 0, the U.S. women's national team for soccer, if you're not familiar, remained FIFA's number 1 ranked team despite major points drop after the Olympics. They got a bronze. They have players retiring or in question of retirement. It's interesting to see if, and Carly Lloyd, see if they keep that number 1 rank after the dust settles here.
The world seems to be right nipping at their heels. It looks like the Swedish team looked really good. They had trouble with them. I don't know, man. Here's what I do know, that this women's generation of soccer players need to be remembered and celebrated and kept in the public eye. Carly Lloyd, been part of our athletic life forever. Megan Rapinoe stirs the pot. I'll give her credit and some of the issues for stirring the pot, being socially active. I think this generation is worth note, Hall of Fame, Mount Rushmore kind of stuff. But I feel like the world is catching up. Whereas the women's basketball team, ain't nobody even close. What's the commercial running right now? The greatest dynasty of all time. And it's hard to argue. But women's soccer, they've ridden that ride for a long time, and I feel like the Chinese seem to be catching up. The Swedes seem to be getting close. I don't know what that younger generation looks like. I hope there's a pipeline coming.
We'll find out, and maybe the women's national team keeps that number 1 ranking, but it is an aged group that had a dominant run, and this is more out of respect to them and expecting that USA does have a very large women's soccer talent pool. I'd say that that's probably the biggest, most popular sport among girls when I was growing up. I would say so. I think basketball was second. Those 2 sports are the most popular team sports for girls that want to be in athletics. And, that's where the Team USA focus should be on, is getting the women's soccer and basketball teams together.
And that's where you can go get paid.
Yeah.
It's hard to get paid as a professional volleyball player. Not a lot of money in professional field hockey. If there's even such. Did you know men play field hockey? Did y'all see that in the Olympics? I did not know men played field hockey.
Men play volleyball too. They got all kinds of sports out there.
Have you ever seen a men's field hockey game?
I can't say I've ever seen a field hockey game.
Oh, well, that's kind of a Northeastern thing. But only time I've ever seen it was women's field hockey. I did not know that was a men's sport, at least in the Olympics. I don't think it's played very much by men in the United States.
I want to say field hockey is Canada's number 1 sport.
Really?
Yeah.
Above hockey?
Above hockey. You would think it would be hockey, but I want to say I read it was field hockey. I might be wrong about that.
Why not? I just didn't know men played it.
Y'all can correct me at any time on our Facebook Live, YouTube streams. You can post some comments. Check us out up there. If you want to check us out on sasportstar.com, you can do that as well. He's Rob Thompson. I'm Carl Schoening. This is Halftime. Thanks for spending your break with us. This is San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250, 94.5 FM.
It's that time. Buses, school zone, study hall, and the classroom. It's back to school. And to make it special, you have the chance to win $1,000 in San Antonio Sports Star's back to school giveaway. $500 for you and $500 to donate to your school. Register now at sasportstar.com. Powered by Aguero's Automotive Paint and Supplies. Good luck from San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN 1250 and 94.5 FM.
For the ones going above and beyond. For the ones reaching out, helping out, and lending a hand. For the ones people count on. you can count on Grainger. Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, backed by 24/7 customer support and specialists to help with hard-to-find products. Because you've got everyone's back. We've got yours. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Research shows that people remember radio ads with British accents. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need, take it from a Brit.
Oi, barmy insurance blokes fetching dosh out your pocket. It's barmy. Liberty Mutual won't leave you skint, mate.
Can you just say Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need?
I think that's what I said, you blooming.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Pro football season's here, and pro roofers save valuable time with Beacon Pro Plus. Beacon Pro Plus works 24/7 for material ordering, order history, and automated promotion tracking, so you can get your favorite GAF roofing products even when working remotely. And now, order on Beacon Pro Plus and get a $175 gift card and a chance for a VIP pro football getaway. Gear up and raise your game with Beacon Pro Plus today. Build, score, and win at BECN.com.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the US that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2021 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
Great news, Slackers! Slackers Sports and Arcade Bar is now opening at noon 7 days a week at all 4 area locations. North Star, St. Mary's, Slackadochis, and the Medical Center. Slackers is the home for 7-day-a-week happy hour, now starting at noon every day. And by popular demand, Slackers brings back the signature frozen drinks. Bring a date, bring a crew, or come on down solo. Slackers Sports and Arcade Bar serves you up all your favorites and quenches your thirst 7 days a week, starting every day at noon. Visit slackersbarssa.com for more info.
El Wedo's Automotive Paint provides quality coatings and selection of paint supplies for your automotive finishing needs. El Wedo can match any color for that specific work you're doing. And if you own a car painting or body shop business, you have to compare prices with El Wedo's paint supply to start saving today. Come check us out at El Wedo's Automotive Paint for quality coatings and a great selection of auto painting needs. Located at 3108 West Avenue. Call us at 210-749-3116. 210-749-3116. Check us out on Facebook or Google at El Wedo's Automotive Paint.
It's halftime with Rob Thompson and Carl Schoening on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN 1250 and 94.5 FM.
That sounds like Green Day. This is halftime here on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 if you're tuned into our frequencies. Maybe you're watching us live on Facebook or YouTube or sasportstar.com. I'm Carl Schoening at Carl ESPN if you want to get a hold of me on Twitter. He's Rob Thompson at Rob Thompson ESPN. If you want to say anything to Rob.
I'm with you, baby. I'm following the train. Just checking out what we got coming your direction. We got Texas Rangers baseball going to get going at 6 o'clock today, taking on the Boston Red Sox. Got your Cowboys tomorrow, 6 o'clock, taking on the Houston Texans, brought to you by Ewald Kubota. That's a fine tractor for your home for the Dallas Cowboys. And as we talk about it, home games this year, we got your tickets. You want to win them, you're going to have to get registered. Go to sasportstar.com, get your name on the list. We'll start giving away those regular season tickets, those tickets that actually matter as we get closer to the games. But get yourself, enter early, enter often. Act like you're voting in Chicago.
I don't get that reference. What?
It's a dated reference.
Okay. We won't go
There are
into
people
it.
that hear that. Act like you're voting for Lyndon Johnson. Vote early, vote often.
Well, I went to Texas State, so that's easy.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good old LBJ.
Jason Terry, one of my favorite basketball players that was not a Spur. I liked Terry when he was a Hawk. Spent too much time in Dallas and he got a little stinky. But when he was a Hawk, I always appreciated his game. Coaching now, huh?
Yeah, he just signed a deal to be with the head coach of Denver's Grand Rapids Gold. They used to be the Grand Rapids Drive when they were owned by the Pistons. Nuggets, one of the last teams to try and own a team. The Pistons let go of the Drive. The Nuggets said, you know what, the NBA is pressuring us enough. We're going to go ahead and grab the Grand Rapids as a free agent G League team.
What teams don't have a G League team?
So at this point, I assume now Grand Rapids was still the Pistons until this acquirement by Denver. So that would probably leave Detroit out. Detroit might send their two-way guys to the Ignite or a Mexico City team. There's a team that's been playing basketball professionally in Mexico City that the NBA is absorbing into the G League. Was supposed to happen last year. COVID stopped that. It's happening this year.
That's very interesting. I had not heard that.
And Portland's the other team that's the last holdout.
So we'll have G League teams flying into Mexico City to play games this year.
It seems like that. This was a report that I read maybe a few months ago. So I don't think much has changed since then. G League schedule hasn't come out yet. NBA schedule comes out at 2 o'clock today, by the way.
And I expect no big news for our Spurs. You will not be marking your calendar for all those national games. Keep your Bally's subscription or, dial in on Crackstream like many of us do. I think I'm shocked that there are NBA teams that do not have control of their own G League. That seems like they've given up a competitive advantage. Spurs were the first to jump on this.
Yeah, Spurs and Lakers were real trailblazers.
Early on, yeah.
And we're 2, 3, maybe 4 years away at the most from essentially the G League being the minor league team to the MLB teams, because we're going to have to draft these 18-year-olds right out of high school.
I know that Mark Cuban has talked about the Mavericks following the European model, both soccer and basketball, where you would have a program that really began in high school, that you would become a professional basketball player or at least part of that organization while still going to high school, 9th grade. Show up to the academy, do what you would do at any other school, but you're playing with the intent of at some point becoming a professional with the Mavericks, maybe 6 years from then. I think that's coming. I think that's coming, and I think that the G League will play a huge role in that.
It's coming to the United States as it's being stopped in Europe. Luka Doncic is one of the last members of the generation that got grandfathered into it, but the FIBA rules now state you cannot sign somebody until they're 18. And that's because FIBA has this import rule that teams were sort of getting around, such as Serge Ibaka has a Spanish passport. So if he ever wanted to play in Spain like he did a few years before he came over to the States,
and
he
wouldn't
was
be considered an
not
American
an import.
player. Right.
Yeah, he's technically not an import for the Spanish franchise. I think he was on Real Madrid. So they sort of stopped that because that's what was going on. The NBA and American sports, on the other hand, that's going to be walls torn down here in the next few years. The UIL, they probably don't have much legal ground now that the NCAA's given up name, image, likeness, that the UIL's probably going to have name, image, likeness.
I don't think it'll happen.
No?
No.
But there might be a professional path, if you will, for these kids in 9th, 10th grade. If they're going to play on an AAU team, they're not going to play on their high school team. There's a Mark Cuban Academy. He's going to name it after himself, where you get to be on the basketball team. I could see that happening. You bring up an interesting point there.
The UIL's been, forecasting death to high school basketball forever.
Oh, really?
Everybody's afraid that the kids are going to go do this and do that. And there's too much money involved. Keep in mind, there's only about 50 dudes every year that are of any consequence that even have a slight possibility of becoming an NBA player. There's 10,000 that think they are, but those that are scouting really only have about 50 dudes circled.
We know who they are, too.
And we know who they are. And they've been, if the G League does this and the Ignite League does that, that will affect such a small percentage of basketball. I mean, such a small, we're talking about one guy in a state, if that state has anybody kind of thing. So it will not affect UIL. And the other issue with the NIL and high school is you have to be the age of consent to sign a contract. Your parents have to be involved. Somebody has to sign for you. You can't sign a contract under 18. You can't. So there is that. And there might be one per state, but you'd have to decide whether you're going to play in the UIL or play someplace else, because I don't think UIL is going to allow it.
Well, the NBA's done this really good job of expanding the game of basketball. They now have NBA academies in Mexico City. COVID might have stopped the NBA academy in India and China, but those are probably going to happen eventually. There's the NBA Africa League that started a year later.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was supposed to start a year before, too. And talk about untapped potential. Africa is going to be dominated by basketball the way NBA wants to get into it. So you're going to see a whole bunch of these young guys all over the world.
Do you see more Africans coming to the NBA?
Oh,
or
absolutely.
have we reached a max?
That has just been scratched the
I completely
surface
agree.
of. They're going to find some great basketball players that would not have had the opportunity otherwise, because basketball is secondary to soccer on that continent.
Yeah, you need a rim, not just a ball. You need a court, not just an open field. It's still different. There are still barriers to entry to being a basketball player, in that you need something other than a ball or a wound up towel or whatever. You need to have a hard floor, whether it be dirt or whatever, and you have to have a rim, whether it's real or manufactured. And that is a barrier, and that the NBA realized about 30 years ago. So as these academies grow, it truly is becoming an international kind of game. Though I still think that we haven't peaked with the African players yet. I do think that there are more coming, but it has not been as busy. There haven't been as many Africans coming than I expected. I thought there would be more here by now.
And this is probably the start of what you may be expected to have already been going on, because somebody like Joel Embiid from Cameroon, who hadn't touched a basketball until he was 15 years old, all of a sudden can be considered the best player in the NBA. I know we talked about Giannis and Kevin Durant earlier, but potentially we didn't talk about the MVP, Nikola Jokic, and we don't talk about Joel Embiid, who could have won MVP had he been healthy longer term. And those are going to be the players that you start to see more of. They're in these NBA academies. They get opportunities to go to either the G League or perhaps college, because they retained their eligibility, or they don't care about that kind of stuff at college level anymore.
But they're only big men.
We'll see. I can't name too many.
That's why I was surprised that we would. Obviously, everybody's looking for the 7'2" guy with the 8-foot wingspan, and everybody, you search the world for that. But I would have thought, as we have built up these academies around the world, and this is nothing new, this has been going on for 50 years, that we would start seeing more of the backcourt types start arriving from Africa and other places, and that really has not happened yet. And I think there might be something to the mindset of playing the game since the first game you played to becoming a guard. It just seems like that has not occurred. We haven't gotten them, but size was enough to get most of these guys over, and we taught them up. We haven't developed international guards yet, which I found very interesting.
Keep an eye out for India. India has over 1 billion people, obviously, so the talent pool is pretty large, but the NBA, cricket's probably still most popular.
It is.
Yeah, but the NBA has invested a lot of money in India, and I can see maybe the first international guards coming out of India to be successible. Simbular was 7'6", played in New Mexico.
IMG. Came out of IMG Academy a couple of years ago. He looked like a Bond villain. He's a giant, or a Game of Thrones character.
Yeah, he was the first, if I'm not mistaken, Indian American to play in the NBA, and then there was another actual from Indian that came into the NBA recently. So the game's catching on over there because of these examples of it being possible. So that generation might be 14 right now, but maybe the 10-year-olds, how long is that, 2030? We might see some Indian basketball players in 2030 because they love it over there, and the NBA Academy is going to make some great things. The NBA Academy in Mexico City, I actually got to broadcast some of their games. They had some guys going to Division I out of there. So there's talent when they bring them into these academies, and look forward to see how the game just grows with everything the NBA has been putting into it.
Yeah, that Mexican Pro League is dotted with former NBA types. That Toscano kid that's playing for Golden State right now came out of the Mexican leagues. Good basketball played down there.
We got Tyler saying Carl with multiple explanation points. Vince Trevino gave us some great breakfast this morning. He says happy Friday. Happy Friday to you, Vince.
I wouldn't be sitting here upright and awake if it weren't for the donuts that were sent early in the morning. Vince, we appreciate you, man, and that good gesture will be carried forward. I promise to pay it forward later today.
All righty. Well, we got one segment left until we hit the weekend, and there's been a UFO sighting.
Nope.
Oh, you guys want to hear about this one because it has a little interesting twist on what makes this UFO sighting very unique. Find out what that is. This is halftime. Thanks for spending your break with us. I'm Carl Schoening. He's Rob Thompson. Edwin about to send us off. And this is San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
This is the place where time stands still. With each down is a battle of inches.
How about 83 yards from Prescott to Elliott?
This is San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
Sports Center is brought to you by Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds.
Available at H-E-B.
While in the middle of making league-mandated cuts, the Dallas Cowboys made a roster addition by signing new kicker Liram Hairulahu after the backup place kicker and punter Hunter Niswander was put on the IR following a back injury on Monday. Hairulahu was an all-star kicker in the CFL, playing for the Toronto Argonauts and the Hamilton Tiger Cats as both a kicker and punter throughout his career. The Houston Texans are reportedly waiving a couple of players. According to reports, defensive tackle Brandon Dunn's career in Houston is over. Dunn played in 72 games and started 37 before missing the final 3 games of the 2020 season with a fractured pelvis. The Texans also released offensive tackle Roderick Johnson. Those are your pro football headlines. For San Antonio Sports Star, I'm Carl Schoening.
If you're a CEO, CFO, COO, or any other O, you already have too much on your plate. The last thing you should be worrying about is whether to renew your company's lease or find new office space. I'm Scott McMurrian with Bottom Line Realty Advisors here in San Antonio. We've helped many of the great businesses of San Antonio save thousands of dollars on their office leases. There's no reason to overpay the landlord. The best part of all, our services don't cost you a dime. Don't wait to the last minute to negotiate your next lease. Even if you're a good tenant with no plans to move at all, you're the most vulnerable to getting a bad deal. Visit BottomLineRealtyAdvisors.com. Proud to be endorsed by Dave Ramsey.
Contact Bottomline Realty Advisors at 210-535-7800 and tell them Dave sent you.
Bottom Line Realty Advisors. We get the landlord off your bottom line.
Stop living with that awful joint pain, and don't let them tell you that surgery is your only option. Hey, it's James Pledger for San Antonio Sports Star here, excited to tell you about QC Kinetics right here in Hollywood Park and Westover Hills. QC Kinetics is the leader in biologic therapies, regenerative solutions that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints with no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. Knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain, pain in your hips. Patients here are raving about getting lasting results from QC Kinetics. Call now to learn more at 210-571-0318. If you have chronic joint pain, don't assume the old treatments are the only treatments. Learn more about new biologic therapy options now available here. Restorative, regenerative joint treatments for joint pain. Finally, call the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics at 210-571-0318. 210-571-0318. Get your life back without pain. 210-571-0318.
Hey, San Antonio Sports Star listeners, this is Michael Kielbasa with Kielbasa Smoked Meats. It's hot outside, and you know what that means. It's grilling season. Our slow-crafted smoked sausage has been made the same way for over 70 years. Pick up your favorite flavor from a store near you and throw some on the grill this weekend. I guarantee it'll be the best sausage you ever had, or I'll give you your money back. Find Kielbasa sausage at a store near you.
If you get arrested, get out of jail fast by calling AA Best Bail Bonds 210-225-2121. Text bail to 474747 or online mybestbailbonds.com. You don't have to call attorneys or anybody else. Don't be forced into a PR bond. If the jail offers you one, make sure you understand the conditions before accepting it. AA Best Bail Bonds. Nobody beats their price. They have payment plans. Call 210-225-2121 or mybestbailbonds.com.
License number 149.
The Saturday Morning Hangover. Saturdays 9 till 11 with James Pledger and Jack Thompson. Roll out of the sack as the guys recap the weekend sports and deliver in-depth takes on the weekend's upcoming action on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
This is Greeny, weekdays 10 a.m. to noon on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
Thank you, Greeny. This is also halftime here on San Antonio Sports Star. Greeny wrote a book called Why My Wife Thinks I'm an Idiot. I haven't read it, but I feel like I could relate to that a little bit because, he's a sports broadcaster type.
Okay. Dude, you're going to have to do yourself a favor. I wouldn't write that. I wouldn't have titled it that.
I could see him doing that. He's kind of self-deprecating like that. It's fun. I'm Carl Schoening. He's Rob Thompson.
Own it.
Edwin. Day 2 running the board. Loving it today. Good job so far. He's Twitterless, by the way, but I'm at Carl ESPN. He is at
You
Rob
say that like
Thompson.
that's derogatory.
It's actually a compliment. Thank goodness that we have members of society that are not on Twitter. Oh, man.
Not beholden to trolls.
There are normal people in this world, Edwin, and you're one of them.
I wouldn't go that far. He's in radio. How normal could he be?
That's true. That's true. You guys might also be watching us on Facebook Live or YouTube or sasportstar.com. Thank y'all for tuning in there if you're not tuning in on our frequencies. So I'm a believer.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in God and all that stuff, but I'm talking about aliens. I'm a believer in aliens too, And there was a sighting of a aircraft out near Area 1 not too long ago.
Out there by Roswell, the home of the original aliens.
Clovis is the name of the town. And this guy just filling up his gas, not a cloud in the sky, sees this little tic-tac flying just across the blue sky. I think they want to be spotted. So he pulls out his phone, records it. The most interesting thing about it is there was a comic filter put in on this tic-tac to kind of expand the colors that maybe make it a little more defined. And an unusual thing happened. You could see an aura growing around this. Sort of like, obviously, there's an energy field there.
I'm watching it, and this is creepy.
Right? It explains it, though. They're probably not using gas. There's no gas out in the universe. Well, I'm sure there's plenty of gas out in the universe, but they have to be using something else. So maybe we need to develop auras so we can fly.
All right. This video is really astounding. And for it to happen, Clovis is just over the border from Texas. Clovis is just on the other side of Amarillo. It's not far at all. This is concerning to me. But the Navy believes there are. Would they had the massive information dump just a couple of months ago that was forced on us, or that was asked for by our former president? And we get a bunch of info, and they give us the data, but they say there's something up. We just don't know what it is. It could be Chinese with something else. They're doing something. Maybe it's the Russians. No, it's not. This is aliens. Ain't nothing human like this.
No, if anybody that was international was already over the United States like this, they would have conquered us.
You ever seen one? Ever seen something you thought that's a UFO?
I keep an eye out, and I think I have, but there's too many airplanes in the world. But I can always chalk it down to that's probably an airplane. I really want to see a UFO before I go. Or maybe even be abducted, just so I could chill and chat with the aliens for a little bit.
Yeah, you're up there, man. More power to you.
No probing.
Well, that's what they do, I've been told. No probing.
One day, I'm actually pulling for the aliens to enter the United States presidential race.
They did.
Prove they were born here? They did.
That's been going on for years, my brother. Aren't you paying attention? You ever seen Ross Perot in public? That was, 30 years ago? I'm not sure he was human.
It makes sense, actually. You have to be alien to run for president.
I amuse myself.
Hillary Clinton's campaign advisor during the 2016 campaign actually told CNN, I think it's time we tell the world about the aliens. And that was it. There was no follow-up. They must have shut him up after that because it was a big story for me because I loved it. I probably...
Why do you think she got some insight when she was the first lady that Bill and Hillary knew that they were aliens?
Probably, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if there's aliens and they live among us and all of these kinds of things that go into that. Their technology to go across the universe, sure, they can look like humans.
I watched War of the Worlds last night. It's coming.
Ooh.
It's coming. It's coming.
See, I think the opposite. I spent way too much time listening to conspiracy theory shows, and there are people that say that the only reason we have not had nuclear war is because the aliens have stopped it, and I believe that.
We're winding down. Let's set the table for you this weekend. We got your Rangers tonight. They're at the Red Sox, and the game will get going at 6 o'clock. The Blitz goes off. The Rangers begin. Don't forget the Blitz will start at 4. Jason Minix will bring you a cavalcade of stars as we get ready for the weekend. Your Dallas Cowboys will be playing live here on San Antonio Sports Star. Pre-game at 6, and they'll get going all the way to 10 o'clock. That's brought to you by Ewald Kubota. And we'll have your Rangers again on Sunday at noon. First pitch, taking on the Red Sox. We are your home for live play-by-play here on San Antonio Sports Star.
Hey, it was a fun halftime. It was a fun week. Thanks for joining me today, Rob. Thanks for Edwin for running the board. We are going to go ahead and get out of here. Y'all enjoy the second half of your day. This has been Halftime on San Antonio Sports Star, ESPN AM 1250 and 94.5 FM.
Every football season history is made.
Prescott walks the dog. Touchdown.
Every football season history is written.
Perfect strike to Amari Cooper.
San Antonio Sports Star has been alongside history as the exclusive voice of the